You have reached Red Steele's Toy Collector Review. I'm your man, Red Steele, and today I have a very special review because I finally got my hands on him, and it's from Transformers Earthrise Runamuck. Transformers Earthrise Runamuck. But before I get into the actual review, I want to go over some of the awesome details on this packaging. Up front, here's typical display window showing you the figure and all the accessories inside. In the top corner here, you have the Cybertron logo. Below that, you have the Generations logo. On the side here, it says Transformers. Here's that packaging here, it says Runamuck. Down here, you have Transformers Earthrise War for Cybertron Trilogy. In the corner, you have an 8+, which is age requirement for this figure. And next to that, you have the Hasbro emblem. Top of the packaging here, you have the Decepticon symbol. In the corner here, you have Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy. Inside the packaging here, you have this really cool profile shot of Runamuck in his robot mode. And below that, it says it is a deluxe class figure. Here's the packaging here. You have this fantastic montage of some of the Transformers in Earthrise, starting with the Nemesis chasing the Ark. Off to the side, you have Unicron. In the center, you have Optimus Prime. And over here, you have Megatron. And below Megatron, you have the Quintesson Judge. Near side of the packaging here, you have Wheeljack, Hound, and off to the side, you have Bumblebee and Spike. Below them, you have Trailbreaker, Sideswipe, RC, and over here, you have Shockwave. Middle, you have Ark crash landing on Earth, and below that, you have the Transformers Authentic logo. And on the very bottom here, it says Transformers Earthrise War for Cybertron Trilogy. Then on the back of the packaging here, on the very top corner, you have Transformers More Than Meets the Eye. And over you have Runamuck. In the middle of the packaging here, you have all the figure's features, such as Runamuck in his robot mode, Runamuck in his sports car mode, and over here it says it takes 16 steps to get there. Then in the corner here, the Hasbro emblem. Transformers Earthrise Deluxe Class Runamuck. Runamuck's Hasbro ID number is WFC-E37. Takara ID number is EREX-14. Runamuck was released October 2020, and Takara released their version December 19, 2020. Runamuck was sold at a suggested retail price of $19.99. It was available at all major retailers. Runamuck was released along with the other Transformers Earthrise Deluxe Class Wave 3 figures, Trailbreaker, Fast Track, and Sunstreaker. Runamuck is a Generation 1 inspired figure that converts to sports car mode in 16 steps. His accessories include his blaster, the Transform Universe map, decoder, and instructions. Runamuck stands 5.5 inches tall, and he is meant for fans ages 8 and up. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert Runamuck from his robot mode all the way to his sports car mode. But the first thing you always want to do before you transform any Transformers, you want to remove all the weapons and accessories. So I'm going to take this blaster here. I'm going to put this off to the side. As the first step of the transformation, you have Runamuck's waist right there, and you have a swivel joint. With this whole upper portion, you want to rotate it all the way around, just like that. There's a step number 2. You have Runamuck's feet right there and right there. Put his feet some tabs and some portholes. You want to take his feet now, you want them to tab them together, just like that. There's a step number 3. You want to turn Runamuck all the way around. Below his thighs, you have a double joint hinge joint right there and right there. When you want to clasp the thigh, you'll see a little tab and you see a porthole right there. So you want to bring that thigh all the way down. You want to bend it in. You want to tab it into place just like that. With step number 4, you have Runamuck's feet right there and right there. You have a hinge joint right there and right there. You got a black panel right here, and you got those fake wheels right there. When you hit the toe, you want to flip them down, but you want to make sure the panel and the wheels kind of slide to the side right there, just like that. Then step number 5, you have Runamuck's chest panel right there. Below that chest panel, you have a hinge joint right there. Onto that chest panel now, you want to bring it all the way out, just like that. Then step number 6, you want to take Runamuck's head now. You want to push it into the chest just like that. Then step number 7, you want to close that chest panel up just like that. Then step number 8, you have Runamuck's fist right there and right there. You have a hinge joint right there and right there. You want to take these fists, you want to flip them into forearm just like that. Do that to your second, that fist, flip it right into the forearm, just like that. So step number 9, where the bicep meets the shoulder, you have a swivel joint. We'll take this forearm, you want to turn it so this panel's facing out, just like that. You want to go ahead and do that to the other side, just like that. Step number 10. We're going to take this whole backpack piece right here. We're going to untab it and separate it, kind of bring it up just like that. So step number 11, you have these shoulder joints right there and right there. You're on a hinge joint, we're going to bring the arms in just like that. Do that to your side of your shoulder piece and bring it in just like that. This step number 12, you have these door panels right there and right there. With these door panels, you have a little tab right there, you got a little porthole. We'll bring these door panels in and tab into place just like that. Going to the other side, bring that door panel in and tab it into place just like that. So step number 13, you have this rear end of the car right here. We'll take that rear end of the car and bring it all the way up just like that. So step number 14, inside that backpack piece, you have these wheels right there and right there. You have a hinge joint right there and right there. So we'll take these wheels now, we'll go and pry them out just like that. Do that to the other wheel and bring it out just like that. So step number 15, with this little rear piece now, you want to bring it down just like that. It's in the 16th and final step. You have this little backpack piece right here. Next, you want to take this little backpack piece, bring it forward, and go ahead and kind of tab everything right into place just like that. And now you have Runamuck in this full sports car mode. Now that Runamuck in his sports car mode, and on my display table, I'm going to go over some of his play features and accessories. First, I talk about his blaster. Now, according to the instructions, we're going to arm Runamuck with this blaster while he's in his field mode. You do that because the handle of the blaster is actually a 5mm bag. On top of his roof, you have a 5mm porthole. Take that blaster and you plug it right into his roof, just like that. And now you have Runamuck armed while he's in his sports car mode. Well, personally, I'm not a big fan of arming my Transformers while they're in their alt mode, unless it plays a part of the transformation, which it does not in this case. If you're wondering what an alt mode is anything that's not the robot mode. It's usually a vehicle mode, an animal mode, in this case, a sports car mode. So I'm going to take this blaster, put off to the side. We're going to talk about Runamuck, and he has a beautiful sports car mode. They did a really good job, and I'm very surprised that all 4 wheels actually do roll. Unfortunately, when you make contact with the ground, and you roll across the ground, it lifts the front end a little bit so the front wheels do not meet the ground, so they do not roll. And I don't recommend rolling this figure on any abrasive surfaces because you do risk causing some mold damage to the bottom right here, which you do not want, especially if you're a collector and you want these figures to last a long time, which is very hard for you to do. There are generation figures that just, they got beat all to nothing almost, where they're in bad shape, and you'll see my generation version of Runamuck, and that's a perfect example of that. But they did a lot of design elements that did carry over from the Generation 1 toy, like the black windshield here, but this figure is very faithful to the animated model from Generation 1 cartoon series and the comic book. And although Runamuck was not really featured in the comic book or in the actual cartoon series too much, and they were featured in a couple of episodes of the cartoon series, but they weren't really prominent roles. They were kind of like comedic background roles. But other than that, I mean, they're very cool figures because they have these excellent play features where the original Generation 1 toy, when you pulled them back, they actually transformed on their own, which I do have my original version here. And I'll show you how to transform him in the next segment of this review. But for the sake of just his car mode, nice little side-by-side comparison. You can see some of the design elements did carry over, like you got the gold stripe that kind of carried over from the Generation 1 toy, the black windshield, and just the aesthetic. I mean, it does look like a Trans Am or a Pontiac Firebird. So I'm not sure what car it's supposed to be. They didn't really have a license, or they didn't really license this vehicle mode out, so they kind of made it like loosely based off the Generation 1 animated model from the Generation 1 cartoon series and a blend of the toy too. But as you can see, the color is a little off only because this figure is really old. I mean, this figure is close to 40 years old, and he's got a little bit of yellowing, and I'm sure at one point in time he was a bright white. I bought him as an adult collector, secondhand. So as you can see, like a lot of sticker labels are worn off, and I didn't apply the sticker label because I'm very careful about that. It would have been nicely done, which I actually planned on cleaning this figure out and reapplying sticker labels later on. I just never got around to doing that. But I also do have the exclusive that came out a couple years ago for Runabout, Runamuck's twin brother. And in robot mode, or in vehicle mode, I cannot really tell too much of a difference. It's just a redeco. And I have to say that Runabout's a redeco of Runamuck. I did not get Runamuck until a couple months ago when they reissued him at Walmart. I missed out on him because when Runamuck was originally released, he was released during the pandemic, and distribution was awful around that time. And I do know that this wave did make it out to the region of the United States I was living in at the time in California, because I did get Trailbreaker and Fastlane. I took a vacation out to the Midwest and I got Sunstreaker, but I could not find Runamuck anywhere. I didn't even know he hit brick and mortar stores at all. But I did find Runabout at a Target in California, and I saw more of these guys on the shelves than these guys, and I never thought I'd ever get my hands on Runamuck. Unfortunately, Walmart reissued this figure, and I was able to pick him up to kind of complete that whole recollection of Series 3 Transformers. And I say recollection because from the Season 3 or Series 3 Transformers from Generation 1, they've remade almost all of them back into the Generations toy line. If you're wondering what the Generations toy line is, it incorporates the War for Cybertron, which was Siege, Earthrise, and Kingdom. You can get the Legacy. Now you have the Age of the Prime. You have the Studio Series. All those figures kind of got scaled consistently, where all the weapons could be used within each other because they're all 5mm parts now. And the scaling with the actual figures all makes sense now. Because in Generation 1, the scaling was all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, put this off to the side. I'm going to take this figure and put him off to the side too. And I'm going to have to say, this figure is a great figure, and if he is still on toy shelves, and I hear they're clearancing him out right now because the holiday season's over and these figures are being phased out. But it's really nice that Hasbro's going ahead and redistributing a lot of the figures that we missed out on the original run. Now that I've run amok in this robot mode and on my display table, I once again want to go over some of his play features and accessories. First, by talking about his blaster. According to the instructions, we're going to arm Runamuck with this blaster while he's in his robot mode. And you do that because the handle of the blaster here is actually a 5mm peg. Each one of his fists is a 5mm porthole. You take that blaster and plug it either one of his fists, just like that, and now you have Runamuck armed with this blaster while he's in his robot mode. Very cool. But there's also another undocumented way of arming Runamuck with his blaster. And that's because with the Generation 1 toy, Runamuck could not arm his blaster in his fist because he had a play feature that made it very limited, where the robot mode couldn't do much but move forward. And I'll show you that in a moment. But he armed his blaster by taking a blaster, and there's a little clip in the blaster, and you clipped it into his shoulder. But they gave you a means of arming your Runamuck with the blaster as he appeared in Generation 1 toy by molding two 5mm portholes on his shoulders, just like that. You can plug this blaster in either one of his shoulders, and now you have Runamuck armed with his blaster on his shoulder. And he looks just like he did with the Generation 1 toy. Very, very cool. Well, I'm going to take the blaster and put it back in his fist. Because Runamuck has a very unique history. He was unfortunately released during the pandemic. And what happened was, he was released in Wave 3. And there was a huge gap between Wave 2 and Wave 3 because he was supposed to be released when the pandemic occurred. But they had very difficult time distributing and having retail stores open to distribute these figures. So Runamuck and Wave 4, which included Fast Track, Trailbreaker, and Sunstreaker, were very limited. And I don't know what figures were released in the other waves with Earthrise, but that was specifically, those are the 4 figures that were released for the deluxe class figures. And I did see Trailbreaker and Fast Track in stores. And I went ahead and I picked those 2 figures up. And at the time I lived out in California. And I flew out here to Michigan to visit some family members during Christmas season, and I saw Sunstreaker, so I picked up Sunstreaker. And I think I may have seen him. I just figured I'd come back later because this one would be the shelf warmer. And I regretted it because I never saw him on the shelf again. And I did see Runabout, which surprises me because Runabout was a limited exclusive to Target. And I saw those everywhere, in Target at least. I picked one up for myself, but I assumed that this figure would be the shelf warmer, that and Fast Track. But I did not see him again, and I was bummed, and I could not find him. And when I found him, he had the aftermarket prices where the scalpers and the collectors and the comic book stores kind of inflated his price. And I mean, he was only a $20 figure on shelves, but I saw places selling for 80 to 80 plus, and it was just ridiculous. And I don't believe in paying those aftermarket prices for figures, but I'm glad to have him. And I know he's not a reproduction because, he's a reissue, because I did pick up this one up when Walmart redistributed him, but I don't think he was put in production again, because right out of the package, and I just opened up prior to this review, there is some considerable yellowing on parts of the figure, namely the thigh, the crotch plate, the shoulder, and the head. So this figure is well aged and yellowing right out of the package. And I know with the War for Cybertron trilogy, which incorporates Siege, Earthrise, and Kingdom, a lot of those figures had some yellowing, very severe yellowing, where like Cyclonus, his thighs are yellowing, and he came out during Kingdom, and a few of the other figures. And Runamuck is one of the figures that kind of falls into that whole rut. And I don't know if they were using inferior plastic back then, because I haven't had too much yellowing for my post War for Cybertron figure collection. I don't see a lot of yellowing, so I don't know if they just changed the quality of plastic since the War for Cybertron trilogy, but there is a lot of yellowing with this figure, unfortunately, right out of the package. So I'm guessing this figure is sitting in storage because of the whole distribution situation during COVID. But I want to go ahead and bring my Generation 1 figure out and show you the play feature and just compare him to this figure. And here is Generation 1. And you just saw his play feature where he actually transforms when he makes contact, and just took out Earthrise Runamuck. Very cool. And it's nice because when you rev him back, you have him transform, you rev him back, he makes contact, he transforms. And like I mentioned earlier on, he doesn't have hands, so with this blaster, it only clips onto his shoulder, and that's why they put that feature with the portholes on his shoulder. Nice little design element that kind of carried over, and you see some basic design elements like the back of the car folds back, which becomes with the canopy above the head. You see the front part of the car is the chest, and the feet are the legs. And that's pretty much the only design element that carried over from the Generation 1 toy to the Earthrise version of Runamuck, because most of the other design elements come from the anime model from the Generation 1 cartoon series, which I think is really cool, and the comic book too. And like you see, the two wheels back here are there only because the two wheels here. And when he animated the cartoon series, they made the wheel part of the foot instead of this piece protruding out, because I mean the play feature does take away a lot from the actual robot mode from the Generation 1 toy. But it's a really cool toy nonetheless. I mean, with play features like that, where you have a self-transforming transformer, that was really a big selling point for this figure. And these figures sold like hotcakes, and I know a lot of kids that own the Battle Chargers, and that was the name of the subgroup of both Runamuck and Runabout, which I do have on hand to do a side-by-side comparison, because there are some differences, believe it or not. And like I mentioned earlier on, Runabout was an exclusive to Target, and I actually was able to pick him up in stores, and I'm surprised Target didn't redistribute this version of the Battle Chargers. But with Runamuck, he was very limited, like I mentioned earlier on, with the whole wave with the pandemic, and he was kind of released post-pandemic where things opened up, so he was a little bit easier to find. But unfortunately, with my luck, I was only able to pick him up, so I thought he was the mainline figure, and I always thought Runamuck was the exclusive, but I had it backwards. And thank goodness Walmart distributed it, because now you can see, now I can have both figures on my display shelf where I can have both Battle Chargers, which is very nice. There is a retooling on these figures, because the head sculpts are very, very different. As you can see, if I bring them in real close, you can see there's some retooling. You can see some mold detail right here where you got the ridges, and some more mold detail in the front of the helmet right here, even on the faceplate. And even there's light piping in the eyes too, which is a really cool play feature. I think it's on both figures, but you can't really tell too much from Runamuck, because Runamuck's eyes just, I don't know, there's not really, there is no light piping in his eyes. But there is light piping for Runabout, which is really, really cool. But both figures are very nicely done. Very underrated, underappreciated subgroup. I do like the Battle Chargers, because they weren't really prominently featured in the comic book. They had one comic book where I guess they had like little juveniles. They're vandalizing everything. But in the cartoon series, they were very limited, and I wish they had a bigger role. But I mean, with the toy, the toys already sold like hotcakes because of the commercials and the play feature of the self-transformation, which was really, really cool. I want to go and put that off to the side, and put this off to the side, because I want to go ahead and talk about Runamuck, and I'm very proud to have him as part of my collection now. Lots of points of articulation. You have knee articulation, you have limited toe, you have hip, you have swivel around the waist right here. You have bicep swivel, elbow, limited fist where it goes in and out. You have shoulder that goes up and down. Unfortunately, I have very limited. Oh, actually it goes up and down too. You have head articulation. Very, very nicely done figure. I am very happy that they redistributed Runamuck. And right now, at this point in time, I believe he's on clearance at Walmart. So if you did not get him, you gotta go get him. He's at a good price right now. And no telling if they're going to redistribute him again. And I think, like I said, I don't think he was a reproduction of Runamuck. I think he was just extra stock that they had in a warehouse somewhere because of the whole situation with the pandemic. Him and Sunstreaker both. Possibly Trailbreaker. I don't know about the fourth one. I don't know if they're going to really distribute that one, because that one's really a really sought after figure back in the day. But I do see Trailbreaker and Sunstreaker being two of those figures that may be re-released. I know Trailbreaker is being rumored to be part of the new Studio series. Sunstreaker too, but I'm not sure if they're going to take the back stock and paint the windshield a light blue, because that's what they're doing with a lot of the Studio series figures. But if you guys found any information, anything valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel. And while you're there, click the bell to be notified of any future videos. I want to thank you guys for watching Red Seals of Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.